Good evening. Welcome to Tawi on Blog Talk Radio. This is Raul Nefer Amen, your host for this segment of Tawi on Blog Talk. How are we doing? I'm doing fine. I hope that you are doing well as well. We're back to some nice weather here in New York, 55 degrees after some bitter cold in December and January and lots of snow. But everything is all right. Snow, cold, heat, it's all the same, isn't it? As we say in the Sabian word, bring on the challenges because we are divine men and divine women. We are at peace and joyful about whatever life brings our way. Welcome to this section on Baz. Okay, we are speaking about the Ausarian Initiation 2011. Okay, as well as we're going to talk a little bit about the Baz system, which we're going to be dealing with tomorrow. So while we have quite a lot of people who confirm for the show, and we're just going to wait a few minutes before we get started. Okay, give them a chance to sign on so they don't miss anything very important. I hope that you all have your materials together. Many of you did the initiation last year, the Ausarian Initiation, and I've received some email feedbacks from some of you. Most of you I did not hear from, and so that we have, some very, very, very important things to discuss this evening. So if you prepared your questions, about Meditator Volume 4, if you, don't have the book handy, you might want to run and grab it so that you can maybe thumb through it and review some of the questions that you may have about initiation, because we're about to take it to another level for those of you who did it last year. And, of course, for those of you doing it for the first time this year, we will be doing it. We'll have two different courses, one for people who are starting this year and one for people who did it last year. So, let us begin by reviewing for those of you who are, veterans of initiation from last year, and giving some introductory material to people who are new to this initiation. First of all, Ausarian Initiation. Okay, let's first start with the word initiation, which calls to mind lots of different things to different people. People approach initiations in different ways. It could be a rites of passage. It could be, revelation of certain, secrets that a society holds. It could be spiritual training of some kind. And so there are all kinds of, applications of the concept of initiation. So it may not be clear to you what we mean by initiation. The Ausarian initiation is nothing more than a specific approach that the ancient Egyptians used to spiritually train, those people who had the means, to go through extensive spiritual training. And when we look at ancient Egypt's great accomplishment, because many of us look at the pyramids and the architecture and the mathematics and the astronomy and, the medicine, the writing systems. I mean, ancient Egypt was a phenomenally creative and productive society, thousands of years ahead of everybody else. We've got to keep that in mind. There are many cultures that like to backdate their accomplishments. You find, for example, that the Buddhist canons, the writings of Buddhism, goes back to about 600 BC. The Old Testament of the Bible goes back to around the same time, between 600 BC and 300 BC, and most of these nations, did not, were not highly civilized or advanced until some 2,000 to 3,000 years after Egypt. As a matter of fact, when we do the right kind of historical, research, we find that a lot of the Egyptian, accomplishments were, exported to many parts of the world, to Asia, to, Europe. There was a general by the name of Sesostris that took the Egyptian culture all the way into China, into, all the way up to the Slavonic areas, Czechoslovakia and Bulgaria and, that far north. And, of course, Greece, we know that Solon and, Plato and, many of the great Greek, philosophers and mathematicians and science, Archimedes, and they all studied in Egypt, you see, or they had access to the libraries, which, mostly were translations of Egyptian, textbooks and, research material and mathematics and all of these subjects. So what I want to say to you is that it was a spiritual initiation system of ancient Egypt that is what was responsible for, the great accomplishments, meaning that, one of the results of initiation is the ability to use your mind to its highest level. You see that? It protects the integrity of the mind and allows the mind to manifest its greatest potential. It improves health. It improves creativity. It improves physical, vitality and abilities. So, because if somebody's going to say to you they're going to initiate you, you need to ask them, well, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of initiation? You just don't want to, acquire some information so that you can brag about what you know and show off your knowledge. That's not enough. And if you're going to spend, a year or two or three in an initiation program, and actually your entire life, because there are levels and layers and layers and layers of initiation, you want to know that it's going to benefit you. And what that benefit is that, if you master the teachings of initiation after a year or two or three, you'll find that your IQ will expand. You will be off the chart. You'll be thinking totally out of the box. What I'm saying is that there will be no IQ, test that could actually, test your ability, because you'll be so far ahead of the people who are thinking inside the box to create an IQ test. You answer all the questions well and turn around and give them a test and flunk them. You see that? But that's what we're looking at in Egypt. A man once came up to me in the early 70s, and asked me, had I been to Egypt, because I was writing books on the topic all the way back. My first book was The Realization of Nerunu, written in 1974, which was a big hit among, people who were into Kabbalah and, Egyptology and things of that nature. And he asked me, had you been to Egypt? I said, no, I don't need to go to Egypt because I have the teachings here, right here in my mind, in my heart. And that's the important thing. You can go at the pyramids and all the great things in museums and not benefit from the Egyptian experience unless until you go through the ancient Egyptian initiation system. And this is what I want to share with you this evening. Of course, the way of going through the Ausarian initiation is the subject of my book that came out last year, Bedulatir Volume 4. And the other preceding volumes, along with Ma'at 11 Laws of God and Tree of Life Meditation System, these are all auxiliary books with auxiliary skills and theoretical background and practical materials, to help take you through the initiation process. You see that? Now, when we go into the Egyptian, literature, we find once we're able to really navigate through their way of thinking and their way of exposition and presentations, we find that there are two supreme spiritual principles, Oser and Ra. There were two main spiritual schools, the Ausarian school and the Ra school. I want for you to really focus on that. Because you see, there are two fundamental aspects of being. You see? One is the self, which is consciousness, will, and the other aspect of one's being is energy, matter, or the spirit. So in ancient Egypt, there are this huge set of teachings that, relate to the self, which is consciousness, will, which has no energy and matter inside of it. And that's one of the mysteries of mysteries. How can something be and yet be devoid of energy and matter? And, of course, the concept of the void appears in many, many, spiritual teachings, but it's not clarified. The Chinese call the void the Wu Ji, or that which is empty of energy and matter. And that is even higher than Tai Chi, achieving Wu Ji. You see that? Because Tai Chi is the harmony and balance of the energy and matter within you, whereas Wu Ji corresponds to the self, consciousness, which is devoid of energy and matter. So initiation, part of consciousness will, the self, your identity, is the Ausarian tradition in Egypt, ancient Egypt, which you call Kemet, okay? And the spiritual initiation, meaning the teachings about the spirit, meaning the secrets of energy and matter, you see, the life force and your spirit and the things that make up your spirit, you see, it has to do with the Ra tradition. And not understanding these two things, that there were two major schools, has kept a lot of people from understanding and mastering, the ancient Egyptian religion, spiritual system, and initiation. If any of you had an opportunity of reading Sir Arthur Avalon, wrote several books on Kundalini Yoga, he has a book called The Great Liberation. I have a copy on my bookshelf, a Dover, publication, He also wrote a book about the serpent power. Those are phenomenal reference books. The best, one of the, some of the best, references for students who want to really understand Kundalini Yoga and the Hindu esoteric system. Far superior to what lots of other people, who study with some guru here in America, whatever. I don't want to put anybody down, but this is the truth. If you take time to buy The Great Liberation and Sir Avalon's, serpent power, you will see what I'm talking about. But in The Great Liberation, Sir Arthur Avalon, I believe his other name is, it goes by another name as well. But you will see that in his book, he also says that in India there were two basic traditions, the Brahmic tradition and the Shakti. So also they had the Brahmins. So when I say the Brahmin, I don't mean the Brahma caste, the caste of Brahmins, but you know it was the approach dealing with the self, because Brahma has to do with the consciousness will of the Creator, whereas Shakta is the power, the Ra. So we find that even once we understand the Hindu esoteric tradition, there are two major streams: Brahmin or Brahma, the traditional Brahma, you know, those who follow the short, safe path, and then there's a part of Shakta, those who follow the long, dangerous path, because it's the path of power. You see, and it's a reflection of the same thing that we have in ancient Egypt, the Ausarian tradition and the Ra tradition. And, you know, and it's very interesting that what survives of ancient Egyptian spiritual teachings in the open is the Ausarian tradition, whereas the Ra tradition is hidden in the thickest symbolism in books like the Seshem Duat, you know, or the Book of Gates. You see, and by the way, all of those books, you know, they predate, the Bible, the Buddhist books, you know, and the Lao Tzu, the Taoist, you know, books, you know, by thousands of years, you know, because it's important to date antiquity to know, you know, who learned from who, because in the transmission there's a lot of distortion and losses and mistranslations and things of that nature. And it's important for you to keep the date of, you know, who was doing what at one time, because then you will understand, you know, okay, this material here is not original. It was received from these other people over here, so that you can correct the mistakes in the transmission. It's very important. We're talking about your spirit. We're talking about your life. You want to get information accurate. I'm not trying to play the devil's advocate or put anybody down or whatever. You know, I just want you to understand that there are a lot of mistakes, a lot of mistranslations, a lot of mistransmission, and many people think that spirituality is hard, not understanding that the people who are presenting the information are working with corrupt information. If you went to school and the teachers, you know, learned that 2 + 2 is 5, and you are in the field now trying to apply that mathematical knowledge, you're going to say, this is very hard. You know, I keep getting wrong results, or I'm not getting results I'm looking for, not knowing that the fundamental system has some built-in glitches in it. So that's what I'm talking about here, folks. So before we got to honest, you know, because you have to understand a little bit of this, you know, the fundamentals of the Egyptian spirituality and Egyptian religion, because this is what initiation is about, the Egyptian religion, the Egyptian spiritual system. The biggest mistake that you will make is studying, reading these people who say that the Egyptians worship many gods. Okay? First of all, the Egyptians did not worship at all. It's not a religion of worship. It's not a religion of worshiping anything. Yes, in other words, in the Western world, there's a concept that religion is about worship. You see that? You're adoring some divine being and, you know, beseeching some divine being to help you out. So, you know, you worship that divine being. That is a concept that's totally foreign to the Egyptian mentality. You see that? The foundation of the Egyptian system is that man is a divine being, not a human being. The human nature of man is something that was invented somewhere around 300 BC, somewhere around that time. You see that? In the ancient Egyptian system, man is a divine being. Man is the vehicle of the Supreme Being in the world. The Supreme Being creates the world because before, there's a book called the Book of Knowing the Transformations of Ra and of Overthrowing Opep, which is the evil. That book lays down the philosophy and the entire reasons for creation from the Egyptian point of view. And you see, before creation, God is one without a second. You know, this infinite, eternal expanse of energy and matter and consciousness without any kind of, limitations. So if there's only one consciousness in the world, and at the beginning, one undifferentiated energy matter, the Supreme Being, Neter, cannot have, never is a word for the Supreme Being at that level, meaning the Lord of all, cannot have any experience because there's nobody else. It's just simply one. When we understand monotheism, we understand Supreme Being, before the creation has no one to talk to, no one to interact with. You understand that? Supreme Being is in a pickle. It has this great ability to create any and everything and has nobody to talk to. Because you see, it is eternal, infinite, undifferentiated, there's no division. Otherwise, there will be two Supreme Beings. There will be two entities. You see that? So let's understand monotheism at its root. So the Supreme Being creates the world within itself and then enters the world to experience life. You see that? And the vehicle that it chooses to experience life as the creator is man. You see, the Supreme Being comes into this world to experience its creation, to experience life, to have a good time, to have fun. You see that? To create on different, once more again, inside the world. You see that? But it cannot choose a dog or a cat or a horse or a snake to be its vessel of manifestation in the world. It chooses man. That's why the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament in Genesis 1 says, and God said, let us make man in our own likeness and image. You see, man is made in the likeness and image of God, meaning a divine being. You see, what? To serve as the vessel of God. God is going to come into the world through the man, and the woman who has perfected his and her spirit. That's what we have to understand. And that is your reason for being on earth. You see, whatever you think you're here on earth for, to be married to Mary or John, or to be, a lawyer or a singer or a rap artist, whatever you think you are on here, those are just simply stepping stones and training grounds to your real career, your real destiny, which is to be a God man, to be a God woman. You see that? And the Ausarian Initiation system, along with the Ra initiation system, which we'll introduce later on at some time, you see, are the paths to you developing your, divinity. You see that? So that puts the Ausarian, the title Ausarian Initiation in perspective. It's a step-by-step, educational process. Okay, so the religion of Egypt was not one of worshiping a divinity, but cultivating your divinity. Okay? Because if you are living not as a divine being, you're living in the world as a human being. The word human means earthly man, and the earthly man is controlled by the animal propensities within him. You see that? Okay? So if you're not living with the divine being, you're living by the animal and the lower mind, the human mind. The definition of being human, okay, includes vulnerability to emotions and weaknesses, and we excuse everything that we do bad to each other because we're human. We can help it. We can do but so much because we're human. A minister, goes out and he's caught in the red light district. Minister gets out on the pulpit and puts down homosexuality. Then we find him, with men in bed. I'm not knocking, homosexuality. Just simply saying people who preach against these things. Okay, but then they go out and do it. And then the congregation, excuses him and say, well, it was only human. You see that? A minister goes out and they find out that he's in bed with the women in his congregation, and then the congregation says, well, he's only human. So we use the human to excuse everything that we do wrong, everything that goes wrong in life. You see that? And the thing is that the ancients in ancient Egypt and the real spiritual traditions of India and Buddhism and Sufism and Taoism, either project the image of a man that is beyond the human. Okay, most of them fall short of saying that man is the likeness of God, but the Egyptians went and said it. The Jews said it, but then they contradicted in many passages in the book, and then the Christians came and contradicted even further by saying that man is born in sin and cannot escape that unless he worships a divine entity and stuff like that. But the Egyptian system was a step-by-step cultivation of your spirit. You see that? Okay? And my books, Medunity Volume 1, 2, 3, and now 4, and my Art 11 Laws of God, okay, gives you, the insight into the 11 divisions of your spirit, which the Egyptians called the Paut Neteru, you see. And later on, the Hebrews, we know that the Jews, were at some time in history in Egypt. Okay, we know that Moses, they say he was an Egyptian royalty, and his brother Aaron was a priest. As a matter of fact, all the priesthood in Israel, okay, were Egyptians, or from that Egyptian line. You see that, okay? And this is something that's very important for you to understand, that the book of Deuteronomy, is a priesthood book, and the whole tradition of the priestly caste in ancient, Israel, were descendants of the Egyptians. They were part of that Egyptian lineage. So I just want you to understand that's where the whole thing of the tree of life came from. The tree of life is a Paut Neteru, but the tree of life is really a diagram that identifies the 11 major parts of man's spirit. You see that? Okay? And once you understand each of those 11 parts of the spirit, we call it Neteru. Okay? The Hebrews call it spheres of the tree of life. We call it 11 Neteru, or the Paut Neteru. You see, we don't call them spheres, we call them Neter. You see. And so on. And but each one of them has a vast amount of information, you see. And most important is that each one contains a law, 11 laws. Each one contains a law that controls now, okay, the energy matter within, the raw force, the spirit, you see. Because the spirit, you experience your spirit as a desire for peace, a desire for union with others, a desire for power, a desire, for order, a desire for justice, a desire for pleasure, a desire, for, technological, order so you can control your environment. You see that? A desire for the ability to change, and a desire for, stability and survival on earth and things like that. So there are these major desires which are in life, which are expressions of the spirit. You see that? Okay? But they can only be satisfied by 11 laws. Not knowing the laws, we try to satisfy these desires by achieving physical things. We think that we're going to achieve happiness. Spirit has a desire for happiness, which is peace and joy. Always to be peaceful and joyful. Not understanding that we have the capacity to be peaceful and joyful whether we have something or we don't have something. We think that the peace and joy is going to be achieved by getting something or getting somebody. So that when we get that something and we lose it, we're unhappy. You see that? Or we might steal and cheat and kill to get it. And you see, so it is this failure to understand how to satisfy these powerful urges, these spiritual urges within us, that is creating all the evils and wrongs in people's lives and in society, and creating the wars and the different holocausts and things of that nature. So the initiation then is a step-by-step process by which we learn each law and apply it to the 11 parts of our spirit. And once that goal is accomplished, it might take you a year or 2 or 3. Okay? How long it takes you to accomplish this depends on where you are when you start and how determined you are to do the work. We will give you all the guidance that you will need. Okay, this is we just begun to share this initiation material with the public last year, but that's what we've been doing in Osada Set for the past, 37 and a half years. Okay, that is what enabled the Osada Society to go from a humble beginnings in Harlem, New York City, and now we're in over 30 cities around the world. You see, because people have been applying these teachings to their lives, and they have seen improvement in family and health, in their jobs, in their livelihoods, in their mental abilities, their talents, their skills, and things of that nature. So, before I say more, okay, I will go into some details about the initiation process or whatever. I would like, first of all, to open up the phones to some of you. I see that there are a lot of you on this call, so we're going to have a lively discussion this evening. I want to thank all of you for coming aboard. If you called in and you would like to ask a question or maybe give us a brief testimonial of your initiation experience of last year, because many of you sent me emails telling me about the changes that took place in your life. Okay, some were very radical and some were spectacular. Okay, and some of you may also were stumped. What did I do wrong? So you get a chance to ask questions, to share your testimonials. But if you're going to share testimonials, please keep it brief, so that because we have lots of people, on this call tonight, that we want to give as many people as possible an opportunity. Once more again, this is Ra Nefer Amen on Tawi at blogtalkradio.com. So if you want to ask a question, press 1 on your keypad so that we will know that you are interested in talking to us. And if you are just listening over your computer and would like to ask a question, in front of your monitor there should be, a number, guest call-in number, which is 1-646-478-3664. So let's go to the board. We have somebody calling in from Skype. Okay. All right. Caller, you're on the air. Okay, I have somebody calling in from Skype. I'm getting a 11111 number. Okay. All right, so that person stepped away. So let's close that mic down. See if there's any more people. Don't forget to press 1 if you're interested in making a comment or asking a question. Okay, we don't see anybody yet that wants to talk. You're formulating your questions. That's good. Don't forget that if you wait too late to ask your questions, you may not get a chance, because once we get rolling with questions, they're going to be quite a lot of, questions coming in. Okay, we have 410-599. You're on the air.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, peace.
Yes.
What's up? My name, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Oh, excellent. Okay. First and foremost, I want to thank you for, I would just say, I guess, compiling the compositions that you've been writing over the years. Volume 1 was introduced to me when I was in high school by my father, and the journey has been extremely interesting, and it's only going to get more interesting with the initiation that I plan to begin in February, on the 21st of this month.
That's next Monday.
But I had a question that was related to child rearing or cultivating youth. And I wanted to know, as a mother who is working at implementing the Ausarian conceptual framework or the meta-netter, I want to somehow incorporate that in my son's life. He's almost 2 years old. I want to get an idea of what was the ancient Kemetic philosophy or conceptual framework for rearing children. What was their position? Okay.
Excellent question. Let's start with what you said earlier. You said that you were introduced to Menunetir Volume 1 when you were in high school.
Yes.
How old were you then?
I was 16. Now I'm 28.
16. Okay, you see that. Now, I'm pretty sure that you know that lots of people might think that that was pretty young for Menunetir Volume 1, right?
Yes.
But you hung in there, right? You hung in there, and you've been at it now, for 12 years, you said, right?
Yes.
Phenomenal. Yes, spirituality is something that we introduce to our children even before they're born.
Excellent.
In other words, if you are living, let's say you're living this initiation, right? Then that means that you're going through life being peaceful and joyful through the challenges instead of worrying and grieving and being all emotion and so on, right? Which means that if you're pregnant and you are peaceful and joyful as opposed to angry and afraid, you are not hurting your fetus.
Okay.
And there's this understanding, some people want to call it a theory, I don't know if anybody's proven it, but there's this understanding in ancient times across many cultures that a person's emotional state of mind, and their beliefs are somehow transmitted to the fetus. You see that?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And the Chinese, and we're going to talk tomorrow when we do with Bazi astrology, we're going to talk a lot about that too, because, throughout the womb, what our mental states and lifestyles affect the children at different stages, gestation stages. Again, the Chinese have a lot of beautiful information about that. But in answer to your question, let's take, for example, children, it's normal and natural for children, let's say, to get angry, to be afraid, you understand?
Okay, yes.
And part of our main initiation, for example, focuses on being peaceful instead of being emotional. Okay? So the children are angry, they're afraid and stuff like that because they're controlled by that emotional part of being. But what reinforces it and entrenches it is examples from the parents.
Okay.
So if they see parents who are not getting angry, who are not getting upset, who are not, expressing their fear, and if they hear the parents speaking, like, oh man, I'm having a rough, some rough challenges here, but I say Twanitier, I give thanks to God because I'm a divine being. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, man, why am I going through this? Why me? You see that? So because children pick up our thought patterns, from our speech, how we, what we say and how we say it in our body language in challenging situations, our children learn that. And that's the way you're going to, share that and pass it on to the young ones. You can't put them in the class and lecture to them. Hey, Johnny, Ron Efferman has a blog talk, radio show tomorrow. Listen. You're not going to do that. You see that. But how you carry yourself. And you know how children, how brutal they are, right? Mommy, didn't you say we don't do that? How come you're doing it?
Right.
So, yes, in other words, make sure that you are the proper example.
Exactly.
And, and try to work with other people to have your own schools so that the teachers, that the children spend a lot of time, the major part of that day with teachers, and they're picking up those habits that is initiating them into the human.
Exactly.
Sada said, we work very hard. We have our own school, and it's almost like 36 years old. And
where is that school? Is that in New York?
Yeah, in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Catholic Preparatory Institute. You see, so that many of our children, that's all the early school that they had. So they spent the whole day, around peaceful, joyful, well, sometimes not very joyful, but trying to be joyful teachers.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? But that's where we raise children in discussions and become very healthy, their minds, because emotions damages intellect,
right,
creativity, productivity, health. So that's how we safeguard the life of our children and really prepare them for a life of greatness.
Is it ever too early to start practice meditation with a child?
Oh, yeah, because, meditation, number one, depends on breathing a certain way.
Yes.
And if you don't do it accurately, it could damage your health. You understand that?
Okay.
Okay. And also, when you meditate, you become psychically open. And if you're not very discriminating, if you're not yet at the age of discrimination, right?
Oh, that makes sense.
Children are already open. Why open them even? They're sponges already. They're already meditators. They spend their whole life meditating.
That is what I felt. That is exactly what I felt. Thank you so much. That makes perfect sense.
Thank you. Keep on with it. Very good. Okay. I didn't think of covering that subject. I'm very glad the young lady opened that line of discussion up. I learned something just listening to what it was talking to me. 330, you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
33078, how you doing?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Yes, I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, you were speaking about God man, God woman.
Yes, sir.
And you said that basically that we're gods in a human body.
We are divine beings. Yes, we are divine beings, right, in a human body. We start off our life, right?
Yes.
With a human mindset.
Yes.
You see that? Controlled by the emotional, sensual, which is the animal within us.
Yes.
But that's not our identity. We're supposed to transcend that. You see that?
Okay.
We're supposed to replace that human image that the lower part of our being has given us and replace it with a divine self-image. But I'm not the one who said that. Are you? Do you read the Old Testament?
No, I don't.
But you know people who do, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that book says, and God said, let us make man in our own image and likeness. And when you go into all the scriptures, you find that they all speak about that man is really a divine being. You see that? In the Old Testament, one of the Psalms, it says, the author of the Psalm says, know ye not that ye are gods.
Right.
You see that?
Right.
And the same thing is said in the New Testament and so forth, you see?
Yes.
So the things that, we're not human beings. Human being is a failure. It's a source of failure and illness and the worst of man to man.
Yes, it was another thing that I didn't understand. Okay, I was, understanding that God is in everything.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. God is within
birds
you.
And, whatever, bees and, all
That's
that.
correct.
Okay.
But God cannot express its divinity. You follow what I'm saying? God cannot express its divinity in the world through a bird.
Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying.
But the brain of a bird and the physical equipment of a bird is too limited. But God can manifest itself through you if you fix your temple, your spirit, your mind to receive God.
Right.
Okay?
Ashe, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for calling. 720, you're on the air. 621. Hello? 720-621. What? 720-621. I think they're talking to somebody else. So we'll get them later on. 972-898, you're on the air.
Yes. Hello, Rahman. This is Tron, and I just have a question for you, actually a couple of questions, if I may.
Sure.
One is regarding reincarnation, and I guess my question regarding that is whether or not do you reincarnate like as the same sex that you were previously, or like could a man reincarnate, his or her, well, his next life as a female and vice versa? And if so, whether or not that might possibly have anything to do with homosexuality, especially like if it's expressed in like young children?
Okay, when we go into the various, one of the literature that covers that the most are the Kabbalistical literatures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and according to those teachings, man, when you start off on your soul journey, right? You start off already polarized male or female. You with me?
Yes.
Okay, and so you do not change that. You remain that, okay? And, of course, being male or female is just simply a matter of emphasis of the sex, the polarity within you, okay? Now, when it comes to, homosexuality, okay, you find that they are, for example, to a man, right, it feels very natural to be intimate with a woman and vice versa. You with me?
Yes.
Okay? And we find also that, to a homosexual person, it feels also, very natural. You with me? To be intimate with somebody of the same sex, same gender. Is that clear?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, we are beginning to understand more and more and more today as to what would make, a person, feel that way. Okay? In other words, for example, today I was listening to the radio, where it was saying that, that our genes, for example, controls or has a major influence even in the choices of our partners. So there might be something genetic or not inherited, but something about the biochemistry, right? Because, our sexual orientations and is influenced by a whole cocktail of genes on hormones and things like that. You with me?
Yes.
So the whole thing, or to try to explain homosexuality or whatever from the perspective of, reincarnation or perspective of genetics or, hormones or whatever, is still something that is very much, in the air.
Okay.
That's it, you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, nobody really has a, direct answer about that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Then my second question was that how much does or will your diet affect the initiation process?
Okay, of course. In other words, if your diet is bad, if your diet is bad, you are going to have, some serious problems, okay, with your energy. You with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you have to really make sure that not only your diet, but, certain exercises that you are involved in, okay, is supporting, what you're doing. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to take a few questions later on. Okay, so at the meantime, I will, just simply, talk a little bit more about what we are, what this initiation program, is all about. Okay, and first of all, there are 11 parts of the Spirit. Okay, and we are dealing with each part, of the Spirit on a 30-day basis. So we start in February, okay, and we are moving through the Amen part of the Spirit from February 21 to March the 30th. I'm sorry, to March the 20th. Okay, that's the highest part of the Spirit. Okay, and then we move into the Ausarian part of the Spirit from March 21st to April 20th. Okay, we move next to the Tehutet part of the Spirit from April to May, and along with the sacred part of the Spirit as well. Okay, then from May, to June, May 21st to June 20th, we move through the Ma'at and the Herukuti part of the Spirit, and so on. We're moving down the Potnateru, or the Tree of Life, dealing with each and every part of the Spirit. Okay? And so, it's very important for us to understand, that we need to work on each part of the Spirit by itself, and I just want to just, if you excuse me for a while, my switchboard disappeared on me, so I need to reload. This is a little bit, strange. I've lost all of my call-ins. Can you all hear me? You can't answer me because I need to get back into my switchboard to bring you back up. Okay. So just bear with me 1 second here. We lost the switchboard. So while it's coming up, I just want to say that the Amen part of the Spirit is the most important part of initiation, and that's what we start up with, on February the 20th, which starts next Monday. Okay, and what we do is that we establish, peace within the Spirit. You see that? Okay, and because peace is the foundation of the Spirit. Okay, we are back again. Peace is the foundation of our entire life. Okay? When we are first born, the animal part controls our lives with its anger, its fear, its worrying and grief, and its emotion and sensualism. And it's the oldest, most powerful part, the animal. So the foundation of the initiation is to begin to weaken and to replace, the grip that the animal part with its emotion and sensual nature has upon us. Until we go through initiation, the animal part controls how we eat, how we mate, how we react to challenges, to difficulties, to losses. It just controls, man's life tremendously. And and most people don't understand is that, peace is the supreme source of spiritual power. People talk about psychic powers and spiritual powers, not understanding that you have to first establish peace. You see that? Okay, in order to be joyful. You don't want, to be happy, you have to be able to be peaceful when you are challenged, when you have losses. You don't want to go through life enjoying something when you have it and then being sad when you don't have it. You see that? You want to be peaceful, hence joyful at all times, and that's the definition of happiness. But that is if you can go through an entire year or two or three, without being sad, not even sad, one single day, without being angry or grieving or being afraid, not one single day, then you would have nurtured a tremendous amount of power within your spirit, so that, you see, whenever you decide to put your mind to something, it will come through. And that's what we mean by spiritual power. Many people think that spiritual power comes from chanting some mantra or doing, certain mystical symbols, whatever. I'm not saying that some of these things don't work. They do work. But the foundation of having a good life and even using these things correctly depends on the ability to be peaceful in the midst of challenges. So the main initiation is the first part, and that's what we start with in February the 21st, and that is next Monday. That's why we're having this talk here, okay? And I'd just like to take advantage of this moment here to let you know that, unlike last year when we just gave you the book, okay, and had a blog talk radio once a month or sometimes twice a month to help you through it, okay, what we're going to do this year is that we're going to have an online course that will cost $20 a month, where you can go through, okay, either you can get help through the initiation process, meaning that the course will, give you much more guidance than is in the book. There will be tests that you can take to test your knowledge, and at the end of each month you will get a certificate, letting you know that you have done well, okay, in your understanding of the material. Of course, the certificate is not saying that you are living the truth, but that you understand it. And there will also be a means of you tracking your spiritual progress, okay, through the online course. You see that? Meaning that every day, if you want to do it on a daily basis, or every 2 days, you can go and answer certain questions, and that's going to be a private site that you will have, your own personal private site where you will get an email feedback, so you can have a print out record of how you're doing with certain changes you're supposed to make in your life, because keeping score is very important. It's the part of your spirit, which is where you triumph, the power to triumph over, what is evil or low within you. It's a scorekeeper. You understand that? So we have the scorekeeping test, on the program where you get a daily feedback if you want, or every 2 days or once a week. It's up to you. You see that? So every month you'll be able to go up there and take your courses, and there'll be a guided meditation where we will have the chant and the mantra that you can use to strengthen your approach to, this initiation. You see that? And as opposed to just having to compose your script all by yourself, you will have an assistance on how to do that and to work with the script that I put together to help you through it. And we're going to have initiation on 2 levels. One for level 1, those of you who are starting the initiation this year, okay? And those of you who will be starting, those of you who did it last year will have a level 2 initiation, which will be much more complex and more in-depth and a stronger program. So if you did initiation for the better part of last year, you might want to take level 2 this year, because it will assist you better to do it, to take it to a much higher level, as opposed to repeating the same information you did last year. Okay? And I will give you information as to, how you can get the link to that site, later on in the program. Okay? So in the meantime, let us take a few more questions. Okay, let's go to, we have a person here, 860-502.
Hi, Shekhem. How are you?
How you doing?
Yes, I actually just had a question, and I guess I'm trying to figure out, how the initiation ties in with, let's say, Volume 1 and the Oracle from Volume 1, because I was on the Wikipedia page that you guys have, and it was talking about the Ra section of initiation, and it covered like it was a calendar basically, an Ausarian calendar, and I guess I was kind of confused when I saw it because I was trying to figure out if you, for example, were using your oracle from Volume 1 with the different neters or neterus, if you get a particular reading, would you have to wait for that time of year and then, I guess, kind of incorporate that Ra teaching? That I guess that's kind of what
okay.
I was a little
first of all,
confused.
right, our website is tawinetwork.com and tawi.biz, right?
Okay.
Whatever else you see on the internet is unauthorized.
Okay.
You understand that?
I got
okay?
You.
All right? In other words, some students, or some people, they get, they want to be helpful, I gather, and they put stuff, but it's, it's my first time hearing that there's something on Wikipedia about our calendar, you see? First of all, the Ra calendar, the Ra is the Potnetero, the parts of the spirit, right? And it's not an initiation per se, okay? Because it's less, less unified in its objective than the Ausarian initiation with me.
Okay.
Okay? Meaning that if you get a reading, you do whatever meditation and ritual you have to do right then on the spot.
I see.
In other words, if let's say you did a reading on a particular chart that you're applying for next week, okay? And the reading says, well, you're going to have to strengthen the sebic part of you to get that job. You're not going to wait till the sebic cycle 3 months down the road. So, you understand that? Now, the calendar is this year. Let's say that, you have a ma'at reading for your marriage or, a tefute reading for your children, for one of your one of your children. And you have, let's say, a Heru reading for your destiny. With me? These are all long-term, projects, long-term things in your life, right?
Right.
So in the months when those energies are rising, right? Those are the months of the calendar. Those are the months where whether you have done well or have not done well in your life, things will tend to show up.
Okay.
Okay. In other words, if I have, let's say, this right now we are in the Heru cycle. So if I have not been doing, and let's say I have a Heru for my marriage, and I have not been doing I've been making mistakes in my marriage because I have not been nurturing the Heru part of my spirit, then this month I might experience some real, challenges and things going wrong in my life.
Oh, okay, I see.
You see that?
Right.
Okay.
Now okay.
Right,
so
I will go to that Wikipedia page and see who put that up there but for all of you on this call here, tabi.biz, tawinetwork.com, okay? That's where that's where you get any kind of, authorized information from these blog talk radios.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Very good. Okay. So I just want to let you know that we're going to be having 2 guided initiation, classes, okay? It's going to be $20 a month, and to help you through each of the, stages of initiation, and it will include, guided meditation with the mantras and everything, and tests and certification, not to certify that you now can initiate other people, but to certify you that you have understood, because there can be tests up there that you can then be certified that you understood the information, and also there can be another test where you can also track, your progress numerically. Also, there will be attached, for those of you who enroll in classes, there will be a forum where you'll be able to come online and chat, not chat, but, post questions, and have it answered, as well as, read the questions and answers from other participants in the system. And for those of you who receive an email from me for this Blog Talk Radio, you will receive the link by tomorrow, no later than Wednesday. And for those of you who got to the show, okay, but did not receive an email from me, you want to send an email to N as in Nancy, V as in Victory, M as in Mary, at Nile, that's N as in Nancy, I-L-E, Valley, VALLEY.com. So that's NVM at NileValley.com. You can send an email requesting, okay, the link to the classes. We have not yet finalized, the URL for that class location. It's a new site that we're setting up, and it will be ready no later than Wednesday so that you can go and register for your classes and sign up and so on. And if you don't have a credit card or a debit card, okay, you will be able to send us an email letting us know, and we will provide you with an address where you can send in your money orders, okay, and we will enroll you in the class. So if you don't have a credit card, most of us cut up our credit cards, didn't we? We understand that, okay, but it's convenient, but it's also inconvenient, and we understand that, so you can get in touch with us that way, okay? Or you can also always go to our website, TAUI Network, www.TAUI.network.com, and you will see, and if you click on distant learning, by Wednesday you will see, a link that will take you to the site where we're having those classes. Okay, we will go to another caller. Mr. Langston.
Peace, brother.
You're on the air.
Peace, can you hear me? Check him out.
Peace, how you doing?
Greetings, I'm well, brother. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. I wanted to ask you in regards to the revelation you had in regards to the economy in the Western world and it collapsing in the latter part of the early 2000s. Do you think that is still going to come to a head and be even more so serious than initially forecast? And if so, is there some kind of hedge we can make, or is there some place we should go beyond staying in the U.S. in order to hedge against that when it does come?
Well, the collapse is coming. Let's put it this way here. The collapse is coming unless certain things are done.
Yeah.
If people have the insight and the guts to do what needs to be done, the collapse can be averted. You with me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? And, but, that is usually not the case. People don't usually have the insight and the guts.
Right.
Now,
right.
But there will be no place to run to.
Mm.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay? And as a matter of fact, as God men and God women, we don't run. You see, we say, we give thanks to God to these challenges because He gives us the chance and opportunity to nurture our divinity. Mm-hmm. And the bigger the challenge, the greater the spiritual power that we will achieve, that we will get from it. You see that? Yeah. What you understand is that when things go bad, there's always survivors. You see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tens of millions of people died in Europe during World War II, but more than that survived. You with me?
Yeah.
Some survived with their minds intact. Some survived, they went crazy.
Right.
And very sick. Mm-hmm. So, what will take you through the difficulty is your divinity.
Mm.
You see?
Yeah.
If you start to worry and grieve over the losses and get angry and upset and, start to fight with your wife and, and that kind of stuff, and then that's how the collapse will bother you. You see that?
Yes, indeed.
I say they have the insight, and if they had the guts, right? Mm-hmm. I was riding the subways the other day, and I saw this ad where HSBC Bank has an ad in the subway saying that 0.3%.
Mm-hmm.
No, 0.3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the energy, the electricity that can be generated from solar energy in the Saharan desert.
Mm-hmm.
Can supply energy to all of Europe.
Right.
0.03, right, of the energy, solar energy of Saharan desert can power all the energy needs of Europe.
Right.
And I said to myself, first of all, well, gee, what about the rest of Africa? You know?
Yeah.
Now, Cheikh Anta Diop. Are you familiar with Cheikh Anta Diop?
Yes.
Yes, Cheikh Anta Diop, a lot of people don't know that he was also very much interested in, the politics and the economics of Africa. And he said that if African nations just, network all their grids, all their energy grids, they could provide energy for all of Africa, Europe, and the Asian subcontinent, which would be phenomenal revenue for Africa and industrialization for Africa.
Right.
Okay? Now, that would help to relieve a lot of the pressure. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, all of these places, they have lots of sun, but they don't have the guts to put solar energy because it would compete with the petrodollars.
Right.
Now, what's true for the Saharan desert is true for the desert here in Arizona, Vegas, and Colorado.
Right.
So if, the Americans have the guts and the insight to harness the solar power, forget about wind power, solar energy, those deserts, right, will provide energy for the United States, Canada, Mexico, and, all the way down to South America.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yes,
that will reduce the carbon print to almost zero, okay?
Right.
And but there are people making monies right now selling, gasoline and selling, taking food away from, from people by using corn to feed cars instead of people.
Mm-hmm.
So when people have is there collapse coming? It looks that way, only because people just don't have the guts and the insight.
Mm.
Okay. I don't know. There's a Wajet reading for the year, and we've seen it already manifesting in the Middle East, in Egypt and in Tunisia, Yemen, and so forth, in Arab countries, right?
Yeah.
Now that's going to have a big repercussion in America.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yeah.
Because the people who are going to end up in power, they're going to want a bigger piece of the oil profits.
Right.
They're just not tired of Hosni Mubarak. They're tired of, the oil being sold and the profits coming to the West instead of their, improving their lifestyle, which means that the price of energy is going to go up like crazy.
Right, right.
But this is what this initiation is about. You see, I'm not doing this initiation in a vacuum. I'm doing this initiation because the winter solstice of 2012, according to the Mayan Aztec calendar, is a very important turn in the history of the world.
Mm.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay? And the winter solstice is a time when the Ausarian consciousness can rise to its highest, into the spirit of man.
Mm-hmm.
So we foresee that on the winter solstice of 2012, there's going to be several thousands, of all of us out here doing this initiation that will be ready with that consciousness for whatever the world, has to dish out.
I got you.
You see that? But if you're going to react emotionally, you're going to get sick, your IQ is going to drop, your performance ability is going to drop, and you'll be swept away with whatever challenges, because there's a book called, The Party's Over, another book called Crossing the Rubicon, meaning the party is over. Okay? The days when Americans of all walks of life, blacks, Chinese, white, whatever, Republicans, Democrats, we all benefited from the profits made on the back of third world people. You understand that?
Yes.
So those days are coming to a close.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But the God-man says, it's all good.
Indeed.
Okay. All right, sir?
Yes, thank you, brother. Yes,
okay, thank you for putting the initiation here in, current affairs historical perspective.
Yes, thank you. At the pool.
Okay. 614-775, you're on the air.
Greetings, Shakem.
Greetings, how you doing?
I'm well. My question is in regards to, I guess, living on a daily basis as we go through the initiation, and especially with the Amen portion of the initiation coming. How do you discern, for instance, if I have a feeling of anxiety or I get bad news, but I don't express it outwardly, and I say, toi natir, and my nature is peace. Does that mean that I've, is it the feeling that I want the feeling? I don't want the feeling to affect me, the energy, my spirit to affect me, but at the same time, I'm not letting it express itself outwardly. So,
Well, there's a stage. There are stages, right? You start off by saying it, but do you really understand why you're saying it? Are you convinced that that's the truth? Stay with me.
Right.
Are you convinced that that acting out of anxiety and anger, fear is the wrong thing? Are you convinced about that?
Yes.
You are? Okay. And
I am.
Okay, let's say you've been doing that for several months now, and the anxiety is not going away, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first of all, there's no such thing as anxiety. What you're suffering is from some energy imbalance. You see that? So you need to do now some qigong, some yoga, or maybe stop drinking so much coffee or sugar. But you got to find out what is it that's unbalancing your energy.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Anxiety is just a catchphrase for, different forms of energy imbalances coming from different quarters.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's why along with these teachings I have, various qigong books. So that you can, and then I have a Bazi astrology system where you can put your fingers right away on understanding your energy picture, your energy profile. You see that?
Okay.
And fix it from on an energy level. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to another caller here. 614. 1 second here. 614-625, you're on the air. 614-625, hello?
Hello?
I can hear you.
Oh, Hotel, Shekham.
Yes, sir.
I was in a conversation with a person of clergy and going over the initiation system and the process and all. And he asked me a very interesting question of which I hadn't really given much thought to. He said, well, that's all well and good as well as I could explain it to him. But he asked me, is there a hell? Could you give me some insight on that question?
Well, when you go into different religions, you find that some religions have a hell, some don't have a hell. And they all describe hell in a different way. You understand that? You feel like the Hebrews call hell Gehenna, but it's not the same as the Christian hell. And for example, according to the Christian, what happened in hell, right? You burn eternally if you have done certain things, right? Now that's a hellish concept of hell. It makes God seem very unreasonable to make somebody suffer eternally. So the thing is, the best way to understand hell is to read all about the different religious approaches to understanding about hell, and you will find that different religions have different takes on what happens after life. You with me?
Yeah.
And sometimes one gets a sense that hell, is a concept, something that's been conceived to scare certain people into behaving themselves spiritually. And it's not quite working these days. It's not deterring. It's not serving as a deterrent. Okay, and you'll find, for example, that in the ancient Egyptian tradition, even though Wallace Budge has a book, Heaven, Hell, and something else like that, a book of that title, there is no hell. You see that in the ancient Egyptian system. Okay. Because the ancient Egyptian system, rather than try to scare you into living truth, okay, it it gave you a picture of the great benefits of living truth. You with me?
Yes.
For example, there are some people who, believe in reward and punishment in the sense of, gratification, reward, and pain, punishment as an incentive or disincentive for people to do what is right. You see that?
Yes.
Okay? The Egyptian system is not based on, gratification, reward, and punishment, as a means of doing, because those are human. That's a human way of looking at life. You see? That might work somewhat with children. Children are afraid to be punished, and they cannot rise above gratification, especially instant gratification. But as an adult now, you got to understand that, you want to change your self-image from a human into divine self-image. And once you put the divine self-image, you don't need the concept of a hell to motivate you to do what is right. Because now you're looking at, at being one with God and sharing in God's wisdom and power, you see, to move on through life.
Yeah.
And when you understand the essence and nature of God, which is love, okay, when a man or woman does wrong, it is ultimately out of ignorance or illness.
Oh.
You see that?
All right.
So you are given the chance to redeem yourself. Okay? And redemption comes through love, not through punishment. If you do something wrong and not punish you, what's going to happen is that you're going to degenerate in your mind. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, that's I'm quite clear on that, and that was my sentiment to a degree. But I don't like to misinform people as well.
Well, like I said, the antidote to that is to research hell across all different cultures, and you find that it's really something that different cultures have conceived for whatever purpose, whatever motivation they have.
Yeah, well, I assume that it was merely the concept of a hell, if you will, was more of a scare tactic or something to make you be afraid, which is an emotional response in itself.
Well, that's the way some cultures use it. You understand that? So one of the problems is that many of us in the Western world are exposed to just simply one culture, thinking that that's the only, that's a V word. But there are other religions, other cultures, and we need to take a look at it. You see?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, you answered my question, and thank you, Shekhar.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
We got a caller from SkyCap. You on the air? There's somebody calling in. I don't have your number. I just have ones.
I'm calling it. Give me
okay. Do you have a question or a comment, sir?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Rahul Never?
Yes, sir.
Hey, wow, you got me. Hey, I'm calling from Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing there? I've called a couple of times. My name is Rick Pierre, and I talked to you a few times, and I'm calling you this time because we're having some challenges out here in California, sometimes getting information, getting it on time, and we had a question, because I'm calling on behalf of a few of us. We wanted to know about the Ra initiation and how that's actually going to be orchestrated, and can we get all the information that's coming out in a timely fashion, because for some reason or another, we're not up north, we're down Southern California. We're not seemingly able to get things on time. The other thing I had...
You're not getting on time, and from whom?
From Cowie.
What is it you're not getting on time?
We just recently got the Bazi reports. I just got mine. We were one of the first ones to actually call in or sign up and get it, and it came late. And we seem to always have a disconnect between New York and Southern California, because we call there several times trying to either get CDs or books, whatever it is that you put out, because we've gotten almost everything you put out. And we've been working diligently with Cowie.
Okay, so do me a favor, right? Send an email to nvm@nilevalley.com, right? And reference this situation so that I can look into it.
Okay, so is that, I've done that before, send emails to NVM.
Okay, so send it to my attention.
Okay, send it to your attention.
And state that I said it on the Blog Talk Radio so I can look into that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, the other thing about the raw initiation part, because this is our second year now.
Well, first of all, this is Ausarian Initiation, not the raw initiation.
Correct. But I remember when you came on before, you said you would talk about that. That's why I thought maybe you would be talking about some of the raw initiation this evening.
Well, no. When I'm going to talk about raw initiation, I will send out a Blog Talk, announcement, referencing the raw initiation. Okay. Today we're doing Ausarian Initiation, which starts next week, right? And I want to make sure that everybody gets off to that and is comfortable with it before we introduce the raw material, because we will find that handling both of them could be a handful.
Correct. That's for incoming people or just people in general?
Well, I cannot separate that. Once I put information out there, everybody's going to come.
Correct.
So I have to make sure that I present it in such a fashion where they can handle it.
Okay. So when that comes out, and you said that's going to start pretty shortly, we'll be able to get that in Southern California just as everybody else around the world is getting it.
Well, I don't perceive – I have a lot of people in Southern California who are not experiencing what problems you're saying, because, first of all, the BASI material, right, is about I would say, 3 weeks old now since we first.
I have it now.
Yeah,
I've got the BASI report. I got the BASI profile. Everything you guys put out.
We sent out an email letting people know that we were having some problems with our TAWI network site. And many of the people understood that because our server, was down for about 14 days.
Okay.
And then everybody to this right now are caught up. And they've been caught up in the past 10 days already.
Oh, okay. Well, we didn't get that email out here.
But I'm simply saying that was with the BASI. What else were you having problems with?
Well, if we go back to last year, sometimes when we would try to get your books or CDs, there was a disconnect. Either we didn't get it or it would come late. Or when I say late, if we ordered it this week, it'd come 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe longer than that. And we would have to make calls several times over and over. And I put people's names down that I've called and asked. And they're like, well, how come you didn't get it? Or, we'll have to send it again, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know if there was I didn't know what was going on. So I was calling on
I apologize for that, and I'm sure that, we've had some challenges here and there, but your experience has not been the experience of most people. Okay, so but I know that it's not a Southern California thing. We don't distribute.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying we've been having some challenges out here.
But anyhow, send me an email, to my attention. I will look into it, whatever you're having problems with, and we will see how we can correct that.
Okay, we can make that attention to you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right?
That's fine. Okay.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right. Area code 214-500. You're on the air.
Greetings, Shake 'em, Shake 'em.
Greetings. How you doing?
Great. Appreciate everything you do. I have a question pertaining to meditation.
Go ahead, sir.
And my question is, pertaining to the healing sounds, is it best to do them before you meditate or after?
Well, the healing, you talk about the Qigong healing sounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, the healing sounds is a meditation itself. Okay?
Got you.
So it doesn't matter whether you combine it later on with other meditations in the same session, or you understand that. Okay? But each healing sound, corresponds to a particular energy channel and certain behaviors. You with me? So if you're working on the liver healing sound to overcome anger or to strengthen your ability to make decisions, or you want to work on the healing sounds of the liver in order to address blood circulation issues or tightness in the body or whatever, okay? You may not want to combine that with other meditations that, let's say, involve, certain things that are not compatible with what, that mindset. You with me? Gotcha. You want to keep things like within the same kind of, program. You see?
Okay. Now, the meditation... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The the meditations that's going to be conducted through the initiation, is it okay to do the Qui-Gon healing sounds after or before?
To do what? What healing? Can you do the healing sounds with the initiation before or after?
Exactly.
I would say if you want to combine your Qigong meditations with the initiation, I would suggest that you do it before.
Thank you.
Because when you do the healing sounds, they purify the energy channels. They remove toxins out of the energy channels. You with me? And relaxes you, and you can, and it'll help you to remove negative emotions and thoughts and things out of the energy, out of the organ systems, to make it easier and better for you now when you begin to do the initiation work. You see that?
Thank you very much. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Very good. So, here's a gentleman who's taken the initiative to bring in the Qigong material into the Ausarian initiation. And, of course, spirituality is about you, acquiring. You have a basic program, but then you have all these auxiliary, resources that is up to you according to your time, energy, and understanding to combine. Okay? 310-766, you're on the air.
How you doing, Mr. Amen?
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I wanted to get your input. I asked the Oracle a question about my initiation process, and I asked it, what do I need to do to be successful in my initiation?
Good question.
And it came up, Amen. Huh?
I said good question.
Yeah. And the answer was Amen to Ma'at and Amen Tim to Kas. So I wanted your input on that. And as far as the meditation scripts, I had a concern with myself is because I know it's a lot of meditation involved, and I have a problem with my visualization. It's like when I meditate, I really have a difficult time in actually visualizing things, and I know that that's an important part of the initiation, and as well as trying to implement the Sesh Matut Natir and all those images. So my question in that area was, is there anything that I can do to help me visualize better in my meditations?
Okay. I'm glad you asked the question. For those of you who have learned how to do oracle readings, okay, you can bring your oracle readings into your initiation. You with me? No, you asked the question, what's the most important thing you must focus on for initiation? You got amen, amen. You see? Which means that the initiation has go through all the Neteru. You see that? But what God is telling you through this oracle reading is that you need to pay the greatest attention this year is to the Amen part of your spirit. You with me?
Okay.
Now, we all have to pay attention to that, but to you, it's more critical. You should also do a reading on your destiny while you're here. If you're married, do a reading on your marriage. And then let's say if you have a Heteru reading for your career, for example, when you get to the Heteru, stage initiation, you might also want to make sure you focus on career issues. You with me? Okay?
Yeah.
If you have Heteru for your, for your marriage, for example, when you get the Heteru stage of initiation, make sure you put, your marriage, issues into initiation and focus on them as well as other life issues. Okay? And and those of you, for people who do not, cannot do readings, we are going to advertise a service. We're trying to put the resources together where people can receive readings and over the telephone and get some insight into the readings. We're trying to make it cost effective for everybody. So we'll announce that, later on. Visualization during the meditations, if you're having problems visualizing, it's because when you're doing the visualizations, you are not yet deep enough in the meditation state. Your brain is not calmed down enough. You with me?
I got
it. It could be that you're not doing the breathing the right way, or it could be that maybe you have, a kidney yang problem so that you're not able to grasp the breath, the deep breath well enough when your breathing is not settled. And that is why we're having a guided initiation program this year where I'm going to provide the actual meditation, guided meditation with the chants and the mantras, and that will assist people, to strengthen their meditations. You with me?
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. So I have to focus more on establishing peace.
That's according to the reading. And then for your visualization, you have to make sure that you're either doing the breathing correctly or, maybe meditating longer, doing the breathing part of the meditation longer before you try to do the visualization to make sure that you are in that alpha mind, brainwave state. Okay?
Okay. Well, I appreciate your input on that.
Very good, sir. 773-507, you're on the air. One second here. 773-507, you're on the air?
Yes, peace and blessings, Shechem and Shechem.
Peace and blessing.
This is Shechem Matei Arit from the Chicago branch of the Sarasate Society.
Yes.
And I just wanted to announce that here for people living in the Chicago area, we're on the south side, and we will be augmenting your online classes with an initiation study group and monthly meditations. And I heard the young man mention issues with meditating, so we will have group meditations available to initiates who are interested in that kind of support live.
Very good. So you want to give an email address where they can contact you?
Yes.
Or a phone number where they can contact the Chicago community?
Yes. The number would be 773-643-1340. Again, it's 773-643-1340, and this will be starting March 14th on Saturday.
Okay. So they can call to get more details. Thank you very much.
Yes, they can.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the Shechem who's in charge right now for the Queen Mall in Chicago, running the Sarasate, and they will be assisting you. And we will be letting you know of places around the United States and other parts, Canada, England, and Bermuda, and Trinidad, and different parts of the United States. We'll send you emails soon where you can also supplement your online initiation program by, study groups, in your localities. 514-484, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening, Shechem or Shechem.
Good evening.
I'm calling from Montreal, Canada. A quick question. I'm just curious to know if the 5 elements that are, earth, metal, fire, wood, and the other one, earth, metal, fire, wood, and I'm just missing one there.
Water.
The 5 elements and their Sorry?
Go ahead.
Yes, and
water,
their polarity.
Water, wood, fire, earth, and metal.
That's it.
Yeah.
Here we go. So, and their polarity, based on the principle of yin-yang, equaling 10, and if we add to that Wuji, that would make 11. Is there correlations between these 11 components and the 11 spheres of the Tree of Life?
Well,
am I wrong? Is it legitimate on my part to see correlations there?
There's a correlation depending on how you look at it, right?
Okay, because I'm looking at it from the science of energy management perspective.
Yeah, the correlation is that the pattern of 11 repeats itself many other places.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But now Wuji would tie into Amen. You see?
That's right.
Okay. And you find that Yin Earth will tie in, to Osar. Okay.
That's right.
But then when you go down the tree, you're going to find difficulties correlating the different elements and the polarities of spiritual tree of life. So it's best to just simply say, keep it very simple that the pattern of 11 repeats itself in many places in nature.
Okay.
Okay.
Indeed. And one last thing, do you still look forward to write that book on the 11 years cycles, of the sun there?
Oh yes, I'm still, I have it in my queue.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to.
Very good.
It's
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Trying to get to most of you here. 301-385, you're on the air. 301-385, you're on the air. Okay, we'll come back to that caller later on. 718-945-44. You on the air?
Hetep, Shekum.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Okay, I want to ask a question about the Bazi astrology personality profile.
Well, you can do that tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Bazi tomorrow.
Oh, okay. And they'll be taking a course over there at 626 Flatbush, right?
That's correct. There will be classes at 626 Flatbush, and we're going to be announcing those classes soon, as well as a few intensive to assist people with the initiation as well.
Okay, great. So I'll save it for tomorrow. See you then.
Very good. Take care.
Okay. 44373 on the air.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm calling. I'm trying to. What is the difference between the current initiation that we started last year and the initiation program that you had in your Volume 2?
Okay, the initiation in Volume 2 is the outline of the stages of the initiation. You with me?
Yeah.
Right? Hello?
Okay.
Okay, in other words,
I'm still here.
Yeah, and to let you know the stages and things of that nature. Now, in the Volume 4, okay, goes through the Ausarian initiation itself. Okay, the schedule. Okay, following what an astrologist called, the equinoctial, points, the cardinal points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that calendar, that so-called astrological calendar that makes, let's say March, 21st. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Supposedly equal Aries, 0 degrees of Aries, whatever it's called. It's really the cardinal, calendar, and it's the Ausarian initiation calendar that Hipparchus, the Greek astrologer, mistook as the basis for astrology when it's the basis for initiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question I had was around with the. Now I have my own oracle. I have my own oracle cards, and I do cycle readings. How can I integrate my cycle readings into my initiation?
Well, okay, when you say you do a reading on
if I do a reading every lunar cycle, is that something that I should take into account as an initiation? Or is that something completely separate?
Well, if you do a reading like for a particular lunar cycle, it is bringing to attention things that you need to be mindful of, right? Work on.
Oh, okay.
Right, and you can work that into your initiation material.
Okay.
Yeah, I suspect that all
much.
of you are going to find different strokes and different ways of doing this, and that's great.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You see?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, this is getting very creative. I know it will. Okay, let's go on and see if we have more people with questions. All right. So let's. Okay, let's see this person here that we missed. 330-788. You're on the air. Three 788. You're on the air. Okay, I guess that person stepped away from the phone. Okay, so let us, while we're waiting for more people to click one on the keypad to ask questions or give comments, I just want to say once more again that the initiation, that we're doing is a step-by-step cultivation of 11 parts of the Spirit, and it goes beyond just simply reading a book, studying a book, okay, but it's a certain process where you meditate on certain laws. And, we meditate on laws because, laws governs energy. You see that? And the energy of our life force, our spirit, is what controls the way we think. It controls the things that happen in our lives, okay, whether we're successful, sick, healthy, or whatever, is a spirit. But the spirit has to be controlled through the laws. And initiation is a means of you, learning the laws and implanting the laws into the mind so that the thoughts in that mind, based on the 11 laws, can therefore control your life force to bring you harmony, success, and well-being, and so on. Okay? If you are planning to do the initiation, you're going to need Medunatir Volume 4. Medunatir Volume 4. And you need to go to www.taui network, T-A-U-I network.com, or to taui.biz, T-A-U-I.biz, to purchase, a copy of the book. That's what you'll be needing for initiation. If you want assistance for the initiation to get the best out of it, okay, this year we are providing guidance, okay? We're having, online monthly, courses. Each month you can, subscribe to the stage of initiation for $20 a month, and you will get, instructions beyond what is in the book. You will get access to tests and a certificate, so that you know that you have understood the material. Okay, there will be a way also of tracking your progress. And best of all, there will be a guided meditation. Last year, those of you who did it were doing the meditation on your own. This time you will have a chant guiding your breathing and seeding your mind with, the proper information. And and as well as the mantras or the Ausarian mantra to take your consciousness deeper into that part of the spirit. You will also have access to a forum where you can, post questions and get answers, as well as read the questions and answers by other students, because, when you're not going to, think of everything. And when somebody is thinks of something that you need to know and it's there, it's going to be very helpful to you. And we're going to be having two sets of online classes. The one will be a level 2 class, which will be much more involved and complex, okay, than the class we did last year, and that's classes for those who did initiation last year. You see? So that you can take it to a higher level. Okay? It's going to be much more challenging and demanding. And it's going to be a level 1 class for those of you who are starting initiation this year. Or maybe if you did it last year and you didn't do too much of it and you think that you need to just simply repeat, the first level, then you might take that class as well. There's no need to do both classes, though. One or the other, you will get what you need from it. As a matter of fact, ultimately is what you bring to the initiation that will make the difference. You see? Tomorrow we are going to be covering, Bazi from the perspective of Chinese medical astrology. This is the year of the rabbit. Last year was the year of the tiger. And you've heard these things being said, the year of the goat, the year of the dog, the year of the rat, the snake, the dragon, and stuff like that. And what you need to know is that these animal designations of, year are really meaningless. They have no meaning. I see many people make the mistake, they write books and try to use the animals as metaphors for people's personalities, and it is not correct. It's not real Chinese astrology. And, all the Chinese astrologers, the experts, the real experts will tell you this, okay? The rabbit is just simply, represents what we call the yin wood, the yin aspect of the energy flowing through the liver, gallbladder, meridian. You see that? Last year was the tiger, which is the yang aspect of the wood, the same energy flowing through, but the opposite polarity. Next year will be the dragon, okay, which is an earth energy. You with me? A yang earth energy flowing through the spleen, stomach, meridian. So when you have a Bazi chart and you know all the different elements that are how they're configured in your life force and what part of your life those energies are governed, meaning that you might have a tiger energy governing, meaning a yang, wood governing, let's say, your wealth. And you may have, let's say, a yang fire governing, let's say, your rank and status in society and so forth. Okay? I'm just throwing things out there. So if you have these, that way you will know what element is governing what part of your life, so that if it's not going well, through Qigong and healing sound meditations, you can reconfigure, you can manipulate those energies, tone them up, push them up. You can take certain herbs and foods to help assist you so that you will not suffer too much stress, too much taxation on your system. Meaning that if wood governs your wealth, then you find that you have to put out too much of that wood element, that liver meridian energy, to achieve financial stability in your life, then that's an indication of what will cause illness within you. So that's how a Bazi astrology chart can help you, as a health diagnostic tool. Because the whole concept of Bazi astrology is for you to manage the energy to manage your life. In the Western world, we manage our life directly. If you have wealth problems, you take a course on wealth building, not understanding that you have wealth problems because the energy that governs your wealth is not functioning like it should. So you lack the talent, you lack the opportunities. So you got to fix the energy to fix the part of your life, as well. So that's what we'll be dealing with tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Come back to this site here, and we will be dealing with that. Okay? If you do not have a Bazi chart, you can come to Tawi Network, www.tauinetwork.com, and order your astrology chart. You can also get a 2011 report where you get a monthly, month-by-month picture of what are the kind of things that will tend to happen in your life this year. Very powerful tool so that you can prepare for difficulties and prepare for opportunities. Nothing like preparation, isn't it? So that's tomorrow. And we'll also be sending you a link, okay, so that you can know where to come and register for our online initiation classes. And if you did not receive a direct notice from us about tonight's Blog Talk Radio, so you're not on our list, send me an email to nvm@nilevalley.com so that we can put you on our mailing list and send you the link for the, initiation classes, okay, as well as other classes that we will be starting this year. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. Let me try this number once more again. 330-788, you're on the air. Hello? Okay. Maybe it sounds like a child. That's good. It's starting young to listen to our talk. Okay, let's go to another caller. David, you're on the air.
Hi, Shekhem.
How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. I have just when you first started your talk, you spoke of two books. One was called The Great Liberation, and the other one was The Book of Gates.
This one was the one at the talk. Well, I mentioned three books. One is The Great Liberation,
okay,
by Arthur Avalon, and Serpent Power. And then I spoke about the Fesh and Duat, or the Book of Gates.
Who was the author of the Book of Gates?
Some priest in ancient Egypt, some 5,000-6,000 years ago. Well, actually, the book is reproduced, by Wallace Budge.
Wallace Budge.
Right, in one of his book on the Egyptian gods or whatever, he has excerpts from the book in one of his books.
Okay, and The Great Liberation again was by
Arthur Avalon, or Sir John Woodruff, one of those two names, whatever, right? But go to Amazon and put in Serpent Power, okay, and The Great Liberation, and they deal with the Kundalini Yoga tradition. They're phenomenal reference books. Okay. A lot of details. It's a book. Those are books for real serious students of the science. If you're dilettante, I'll say don't waste your money. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. 202-49, you're on the air. Two 0249, you're on the air. Okay, a person hung up. Okay, we are coming down to the end of our show. We have about 2 minutes remaining, so this is last opportunity for anybody who wants to ask a question. Press 1 on your keypad so that we know that you want to ask a question, so that we can acknowledge you. Let me see here. I don't know this person. Did we acknowledge this person before? 732-300. You on the air? Hello? Guess not. Okay, we have a minute and a half to go, so I want to thank all of you who joined us this evening. And if you like tonight's program, make sure that you click on the button to mark this, one of your favorite shows, okay, so that Blog Talk Radio can be notified that we have lots of listeners that are very much, enjoying, the service that they are providing. And don't forget to come in tomorrow at 7:30, where we're going to be discussing Bazi, which is Chinese medical Chinese astrology from a medical perspective. You see that? It's going to be a very interesting show because many people, need to know that there is an astrology system that's quite superior to the Western system. I've studied all kinds of astrologies, and I'm just totally mind blown with what the Chinese have done with the subject. So I want to thank all you for coming on the show. Peace and blessings to all of you.